I always ask a client when I set them up, especially a new one, is there anything you don't do? And so I've done this long enough to know the categories that someone doesn't do. So I'll say, do you do septic? Do you do trenchless? Do you do video line scoping and all that? And do you do water treatment systems? And you know, those are the ones that people sometimes don't do if they're a plumber, but the more you do, especially when you're starting out, the better off you'll be. You may not do much water treatment, but it's a great category and we can optimize you for it. And you might figure it out if you're going to do like a whole house water treatment system or RO or carbon or whatever it is. But when I get a client that's new and he lets me optimize well and has plenty of categories, I understand if you don't have trenchless equipment and all of that, and that's pretty common, or if you don't work on septic, that's pretty common. You just don't want to narrow too much unless you have an aged website and you're going to go for something. Hey there, it's Nolan Walker here for Plumbing Webmasters, and today we're going to talk about old websites versus new websites and how long they take to optimize. It's a topic that comes up a lot, and I thought I'd address it. So both can be fine. I'm going to start out with new websites because a lot of you guys are new starting out, but I'm going to go to a story that just came up today on someone that had called that had an older website. I'm going to tell you what they had going on and give you a little bit more information. So first, to start with, let's talk about new websites for plumbing companies and how long they take to optimize. So this is an actual client of ours. I'm not going to mention him here on the podcast video just because I don't want to go into it. I didn't talk to him about it yet, but we've got a client that launched in August. And I don't know whenever you're watching this video, is August, September, October, November, December. So he's been up for roughly 4 months. It's currently middle of December while I'm recording this, 2018. So that guy went up, and you know, years ago when we did this, we now have a couple dozen webmasters here. We do unbelievably intricate, phenomenal work. Years ago when they went up, I was worried about it. But nowadays when they go up, if you type in this guy's primary keyword rankings, or primary keywords like plumber, and he's in St. Louis, Missouri, he doesn't currently show up. However, since he's got such an intricate, detailed website with lots of auxiliary pages about things like hose bibs and different types of pumps and repiping and things like that, he is showing up for a lot of keywords because Google simply doesn't have enough extreme high quality websites with deep structured content like we do. And he got 12 leads this week, or if I go back to his last weekend through Thursday, because we're listening to these leads for this gentleman, and he's done about $6,000 in profit. And granted, it's a good time of year for a plumber right now during the winter season, but this is one heck of a great launch in a pretty darn decent sized city as far as I'm concerned. So he's in St. Louis, Missouri. It is literally a 4-month-old effort. Just so you know, he's gotten 10 Google reviews. So he wasn't a client of ours that decided not to get any reviews at all. We set him up with a module to pull his reviews into a tab around the web, and he also has a little dashboard to enter the client's cell phone in, and it'll automatically text his clients direct links to his Google review and Facebook and all of that. And so if a site's done well enough like we do, and I won't bore you on all the details, you guys know how high a quality work we do with custom design and code base and tons of content. This site is loaded of content. He did most stuff, by the way. I always ask a client when I set them up, especially a new one, is there anything you don't do? And so I've done this long enough to know the categories that someone doesn't do. So I'll say, do you do septic? Do you do trenchless? Do you do video line scoping and all that? And do you do water treatment systems? And you know, those are the ones that people sometimes don't do if they're a plumber, but the more you do, especially when you're starting out, the better off you'll be. You may not do much water treatment, but it's a great category and we can optimize you for it. And you might figure it out if you're going to do like a whole house water treatment system or RO or carbon or whatever it is. But when I get a client that's new and he lets me optimize well and has plenty of categories. I understand if you don't have trenchless equipment and all of that, and that's pretty common, or if you don't work on septic, that's pretty common. You just don't want to narrow too much unless you have an aged website and you're going to go for something like we did have a gentleman out of Fort Worth, Texas, that's launching, and he is a slab leak repair specialist. In that case, he already had about a 7 or 8 year old website effort, and we're going to do this extremely deep dive on slab leak repair and detection and leak finding service. He does that sort of thing. He's a specialist in it. I believe he's going to do really well with that. But I wouldn't want to do that for a guy just starting out brand new. You don't want to be too narrow. This guy, for getting 12 leads in 1 week, getting $6,000 worth of work off of that like that, that's a fantastic turnaround. Most of those are obviously turning into leads for him. And by the way, if you're on the new side of things, and even if you have an older web effort, and what I mean by older, newer, I don't care that the website's old and cruddy and doesn't work. I'm talking how long has it been live on the internet? So how long has a URL been up connected to a website and it hasn't broken for more than a month or two? I'm not talking about you having an old domain that's sitting there stagnant or sitting there with no design. That doesn't count. I'm talking about a website is either brand new and connected to a Google account and it's live with a design, or it's old and has that, so it hasn't existed before, like the one we're just talking about, or you have one up but it's not working for you, but it's old. So let's move on. So that guy did fantastically, and it's a darn good sized market, and that can happen, but it has to be comprehensive. You cannot throw up trash. And I'll give you the flip side, and this will actually help prove down this point. So he had a new website put up with us, got 12 fantastic leads. Those leads, yes, are better than bought leads, paid leads, pay-per-click. We do pay-per-click management, and we do social spend management, Facebook ads and stuff like that too. But when we're talking here, we're talking about these were all organically derived. People looked him up and found him on organic keyword terms and map placement and review integration, which we did and optimized for him. So those leads are higher quality, almost all turn into some sort of a job or sales because people are calling on his brand, which, by the way, on a new web effort will make you a logo and hand you the artwork. Pretty cool. Up to 3 revisions before we charge you a dime on the logo. We do that because I don't want to launch a cruddy looking website. If you need it, you need it. You can't put up junk and have Google like it. It also affects conversion and how long people stay on the website. So let's go up to another one. So this was kind of a sad call a little bit, but it's got good bones. So gentleman was calling for his family, and his mother and father owned a plumbing business in a town of a little over 700,000. Great town to be in. And the website is from 2001, so it's 17 to 18 years old. It's got 16 Google reviews, which is low, but they're there, and the Google account is aged. The web effort is extremely aged. In fact, I'd say they might be one of first to market in that area, and they have a 21 domain authority. If you don't know what that is, it's just a number associated with sites that denotes strength of the site. It tends to be very common to see high domain authority and high ranking. It's not necessarily, but they're typically congruent. You'll typically find them very similar rankings to high domain authority. So this is all there. This means this guy can not only get all the secondary keywords up quickly, like we did for the brand new website, but he can also see his primary keywords move into a major market pretty quickly as well. Now, they called because the family business isn't doing well, and because the town has almost 1 million people in it, and this site is old as the hills but has not been worked on. So it's got an old trashy template up. It never gets touched. They don't do anything from what I can tell. The 16 Google reviews are probably just there completely naturally without anybody asking for a review. It had a template website with no review integration. It had almost no content, no blog. Couldn't click to social media, I don't think, on it. It was just in bad shape, but it was aged and poised to do well. So if you're in this condition, it's fantastic. Now, this was a second generation calling to try to get the website up and running. And if somebody calls us and asks these questions, we're very straightforward. Now, I do expect the guy with the newer website to move up for his primary keywords eventually as well, but I'm thrilled that he's getting almost 50 fantastic quality leads per month already. It's just a great initial effort. The primary keywords aren't high in ranking yet, but as long as he continues to do the reviews and maybe does some social postings or something, as we do all the great quality work that we do on design and code, content blogging, content additions and content changes, citations and domain authority, Google Map posting, Google Map embellishment, etc., it will go up in ranking. The other one that's older, it's just going to happen even faster for some of the primary stuff and has a potential to go up further. And the primary keywords themselves, like the word plumber, plumbing company, those sorts of words, plumbing repair, they're going to go up higher, faster, and the secondary stuff's going to go up quickly as well. Google already trusts and recognizes this website. With the guy that was, he just now kind of started to take off on that. He got a few on the brand new website his first month, and then more his second, and more his third, and it paid for itself rather quickly. But by the fourth month, it was banging and doing pretty well. And all of this has to do with Google's signals and grade towards you. So just because you have the old website doesn't mean it's going to do well if it's not worked on. Case in point is a gentleman we talked to today who hopefully become a client that has this fantastic base to start with, and it's trusted already from Google. It just means they don't have to put him in any holding period to wait to put up all these keyword terms. So it'll happen faster, and yeah, great position to be in. But either way you shake it, and guys, here's the thing too, what are you going to do if you have a new one? You can't not do it. Luckily, if with high enough quality work, it can get results quickly. If you have a site and you're somewhere in between this 2001 and brand new one that I'm talking about, and you've tried services before, I think you know if you gut check it. I'll tell you one thing that is inside the lines here that I'll say, the people who had the 2001 site could have waxed fat and had a great time the whole time of it, but focus on the marketing or misunderstanding of it kept them from marketing and enjoying the fruits of the labor that they would have had from working on the website. But since it got less stagnant, other people with newer websites come in and take those positions because they are more trusted and have more signals and have a better grade from Google. But if you don't focus on marketing, you know, it's a rough life if you don't focus on marketing. I've said this before, I go back to a real tunnel vision. We work on a lot of stuff here. It's not like we don't work on service and quality of detail and everything that we do. But sales and leads are first. It's first for me. It should be first for you, because once we have sales, we have resources. And once we have resources, we can get services. And once the resources are great enough, we can have better setup than anybody because we have the resources to pay for it. So the best people, the best human resources going into it, best practices, and that's what you're looking to have happen. So for me, you should be tunnel visioned on marketing and sales when you wake up each day. You know, and if you start with us with an organic basis, which is everything we're talking about here, we do other stuff too. We can help you with all paid. But if you start with an organic basis, and we do more than anybody that I know of, there's always more you can do. You should call up and say, hey, Nolan, what else do you have for me? You know, what else can you do? We don't typically call people back and hit them up for stuff. We don't nibble or do other stuff. We stay busy. I have a lot of happy clients, hundreds of clients around the nation, and it's a great deal to get up there. And you can get up there and get going, and you can add and do more and more and more, pay for stuff if you want to. But I love the organic stuff. I hope this helps break it down a little for you to understand. That's a pretty darn good one on the new one. But it is a good sized market to hit them on. And then the other guy can go gangbusters with something that old. It's unusual for me to see something that old because the client's usually old. And actually the older clients, they didn't call. It was the son that called. A little tidbit of something, don't ever take that site down. Don't ever change the domain name, and don't ever redirect it, ever. It is tenured, it is aged. Don't let it break, don't let it go dead, and don't redirect it and change the company name. If you change the company name, keep the .com. Unless something, I'm not giving you legal advice. If you have something else, go seek an attorney. But keep that .com up under all conditions if you can. If you can keep it up, you keep it live. Just because it doesn't work today doesn't mean it's not poised to work well. And just because you don't have the old website doesn't mean you can't get up. You just need the highest quality web work you can possibly get so that Google grades everything and it has signals, and then you rightfully deserve to start climbing through rankings. So I hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to hearing from you. I'd like to hear from you personally. There's a couple dozen people here. I still talk to many of you when you call in. If you're a plumbing company looking for web work, we'd love to hear from you and be honored to be of service. Talk to you later.